My name is Meg McPhillamy. I am a project manager at HNTB, and I'm also on the steering committee. I'm pleased to welcome Zach Baughman and Dominic Garascia for their session on O'Hare. So please join me in welcoming them.
Thank you. Thanks for having us this morning, and great job on the name pronunciation. And for HNTB is one of the lead designers on our TAP program, which we'll be talking about today. So happy to see some familiar faces from some entities that we work with constantly. So thank you so much for inviting the Chicago Department of Aviation to present at this year's Transportation Conference. My name is Zach Baughman, and I'm the Managing Deputy Commissioner of the Chicago Department of Aviation.
And my name is Dominic Garascia, and I'm an Assistant Commissioner and Architect with the Design and Construction Division at the CDA.
It's an honor to be part of such a dynamic gathering of transportation professionals and innovators. This gathering has grown over the years into a vital platform for exchanging ideas, sparking dialogue, and building relationships to address the complex challenges facing transportation infrastructure. We are grateful to be here today surrounded by people who share a deep commitment to improving mobility, accessibility, and connectivity for all. So I'd like to start by just providing a brief overview of the Chicago Department of Aviation. As you may know, O'Hare and Midway are owned and operated by the City of Chicago, and the Chicago Department of Aviation, or as we refer to it, CDA, administers all aspects of both airports. The CDA employs more than 1,800 people from all of Chicago's 77 community areas. We collaborate with stakeholders to improve operations through expanded service, increased accessibility, infrastructure improvements, sustainability, and enhanced passenger amenities. Our top priority is the safety of our passengers who arrive, depart, and connect through our airports. In compliance with federal regulations, O'Hare and Midway operate financially as two separate enterprise funds, with both airports being entirely self-sustaining. Chicago's airports play a vital role in the health of the regional economy. O'Hare and Midway directly employ more than 55,000 individuals, and that's over 46,000 at O'Hare and more than 9,000 at Midway. In addition to employment, the airports generate significant economic impact through tourism and trade, cargo operations, and robust multimodal connections that link Chicago to the world. This group is well aware of Chicago's status as a major transportation hub of the country, home to the largest rail hub in North America. And of course, the Chicago airport system ranks among the busiest in the world for both passenger travel and cargo operations. Transportation plays a powerful role in our economy, supporting more than 250,000 regional jobs. Beyond that, the broader Chicago airport system supports approximately 730,000 full-time equivalent jobs across 9 counties in northeastern Illinois. As a critical freight hub, 25% of all U.S. freight travel, rail traffic passes through Chicago. And O'Hare alone processes over 2 million metric tons of cargo annually. That's an 8.7% year-over-year increase, so 2 million metric tons in 2024. This connectivity supports the presence and success of corporate headquarters, international business operations, financial institutions, technology firms, and a wide range of industries. Chicago has been the #1 city in North America for foreign direct investment for 12 years in a row and number 10 in the nation for venture capital investment. Strategic investments in our airports, railroads, expressways, and tollways, as well as public infrastructure via CTA and Metra, drive long-term valuable growth and efficiency. Infrastructure investment also generates valuable construction jobs and strengthens our position as a global transportation leader. Now, as you can see, this summer is set to be the busiest in CDA's history, with our airline scheduling nearly 17.8 million departing seats in June through August. That's a 7% increase over last year's record-breaking levels and a 4% increase over 2019, which is kind of what we use as our pre-pandemic height benchmark. And this summer has the highest amount of seat capacity in the past 20 years. As you can see on this slide, Chicago's airports will connect travelers to approximately 265 destinations worldwide, which is up from 250 last summer. In both O'Hare's hub airlines, United and American, as well as Southwest, which is Chicago's largest dual airport operator, operating out of both O'Hare and Midway, are increasing service. This is great news for us. Chicago serves as a uniquely positioned aviation hub thanks in large part to our central location in the United States, making this a critical link for both domestic and international travel. As of June 2025, Chicago's airport system offers service to 265 destinations, a comprehensive network that includes 193 domestic routes and 72 international routes. Now, I know we have a mixed crowd. Not everyone here is in aviation, but this is an obligatory slide for all aviation decks from any airport. So we love to show our little map of connectivity. 49 carriers operate out of Chicago's airports, offering travelers an array of options. At O'Hare alone, 47 airlines offer service, reflecting its global reach and significance. Midway hosts 6 carriers, serving as a vital hub for both domestic and point-to-point travel. Notably, 4 airlines offer dual service at both O'Hare and Midway, providing flexibility and connectivity that further strengthens Chicago's role as a key aviation gateway. So to talk about passenger traffic for a minute, in 2024, Midway served more than 21 million passengers across 223,000 flights, a strong indicator of the airport's ongoing recovery from the impacts of COVID-19 and sustained relevance in the region's transportation landscape. Southwest continues to be Midway's largest carrier at about 87% of the traffic at Midway, and its longstanding commitment to the airport and to the city of Chicago has played a critical role in driving the airport's full recovery from the impacts of COVID-19. Passenger volumes at Midway in 2024, which is the most recent year we have full year data for, exceeded pre-pandemic levels with a 3% increase compared to 2019, demonstrating both resilience and strong demand from travelers. Now, while Midway saw a slight dip in total passenger traffic compared to 2023, this was largely due to industry-wide aircraft manufacturing delays, which I'm sure you've seen in the news, especially those affecting Southwest fleet expansion and scheduling capacity. Passenger volumes at O'Hare are also trending favorably, reflecting strong demand and continued recovery in air travel. In 2024, more than 80 million passengers traveled through O'Hare, representing an 8.6% increase over 2023. This marks the highest total passenger volume since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and the largest year-over-year percentage gain of any of our peer airports in the Americas. Chicago's growth in operations stands out on that paradigm. These upward trends in passenger volume reinforce Chicago's role as a key driver of aviation and economic vitality, not just locally, but on a national and global scale. So far this year alone, we have added new or additional service to 10 international destinations and 27 domestic destinations. This enables Chicago to remain a key player in global connectivity and solidifies O'Hare's ranking as the most connected airport in the United States. To accommodate our air traffic, the O'Hare Modernization Program, or OMP, created a balanced runway system that offers more options for takeoffs and landings, while also helping to reduce noise impacts on any single community near the airport. We at CDA love this graphic. You can see the amount of work that has happened in the airport over the past 2 decades, and as you'll see later in the presentation, our focus now is to build terminal facilities that match this beautiful airfield. So as a key feature of this reconfiguration, we added 2 crosswind runways, which eliminate the need for taxiing aircrafts to cross active runways, an improvement that has significantly enhanced airfield safety. These upgrades from our intersecting runway system we had in 2021 to our set of parallel runways that currently exist has led to a 66% reduction in system impact delays, improving efficiency and reliability for airlines and passengers alike. And system impact delays mean impact delays across the entire aviation system. So historically, O'Hare was a cause of a lot of delayed flights across the country, not just within Chicago. The OMP has also laid critical groundwork for future terminal expansion and modernization efforts, positioning O'Hare to meet the growing demands of global air travel. The economic impact of the OMP has been substantial, generating an estimated 29,000 construction jobs and 5,000 professional services jobs over the life of the program. Notably, the construction of Runway 9 Center alone created 2,700 full-time jobs. The program also prioritized inclusive economic growth. Of the nearly $970 million invested in infrastructure contracts, 31% went to minority, disadvantaged, and women-owned businesses, ensuring a more equitable distribution of opportunities. In summary, the OMP redesigned airfield now includes 4 new runways, 2 extended runways, 2 new air traffic control towers, numerous facility relocations, and comprehensive sound insulation program, which provided noise mitigation for over 11,500 homes and 124 schools surrounding the community. This level of airfield capacity and traffic This level of airfield capacity and the traffic it can accommodate requires modern terminal facilities. Because of Chicago's incredible investment we have made in O'Hare's airfield over the past 20 years, we are able to process a significant amount of flights and passengers. In fact, last year we handled over 776,000 aircraft movements, so an aircraft movement, a takeoff or a landing. That makes O'Hare the second busiest airport in the world. And to put that number in perspective, that means we had 1 aircraft operation, 1.5 aircraft operations, 1 landing or takeoff every minute of the entire year, 365 days. That increase is particularly notable given that there's an industry-wide trend towards operating larger aircraft, which generally results in fewer total flights. This level of traffic and airfield capacity investment, as mentioned, requires more modern terminal facilities, which is the purpose of the O'Hare 21 Capital Improvement Program. O'Hare 21 represents a comprehensive initiative focused on enhancing the airport's efficiency, accessibility, and adaptability to meet the needs of today's travelers and to the demands of future growth. This ambitious program is composed of several strategically phased components that work together to transform O'Hare into a modern, accessible global gateway. We just discussed one foundational element, the OMP, airfield reconfiguration. Another key milestone was the expansion of the Terminal 5, which was successfully complete in 2022, significantly increasing capacity and enhancing the passenger experience. The Terminal Area Plan, or TAP, is a critical part of O'Hare 21, designed to improve the layout and functionality of the terminals across the airport, creating better flow and connectivity for all passengers. Terminal 3 has seen important gate improvements and other upgrades that contribute to a more comfortable and efficient travel environment for millions of travelers. And beyond the terminals, O'Hare 21 includes a variety of other capital improvement programs, such as taxiway rehabilitations, utility upgrades, which are vital to maintaining the airport's infrastructure and supporting its long-term growth and resilience. And now Dominic will dive deeper into our O'Hare 21 program.
Thank you, Zach. And as he said, before we can even build new concourses, we really need to prepare the airfield site. As you can see on this slide, a significant amount of pavement work has been done and is continuing to be done to enable the construction of these TAP elements. Each of these projects that you see on screen, highlighted on screen here, will make sure that aircraft movement in the terminal area is safe and efficient as possible, not only after completion, but also during construction. And while we are working on the airfield, we are also improving existing terminal facilities, including the recently completed Lower Concourse C extension, which is a temporary facility on the south end of Concourse C to assist in maintaining operations and gate capacity during future TAP construction. We also have the GL gate swap, which is a swap out of airlines within the existing terminal facilities. We have a renovation and utility improvements throughout our pedestrian tunnels, which connect the airside facilities to the parking garage infrastructure. We have improvements to the Terminal 3 facility, and we also have a Concourse L3 gate expansion to add gates at the airport. We also have improvements going on at the Terminal 5 campus and an expansion to both gates and existing facility. All of these projects are either completed or currently underway to facilitate the TAP program. Specifically, the Terminal 5 expansion added 33,000 square meters or 350,000 square feet of brand new space, while also renovating 750,000 square feet or 70,000 square meters to the existing terminal structure. It stands as the largest terminal project completed at O'Hare since the original Terminal 5 was built back in 1993. The key outcomes of this project include 75% increase in passenger amenity space, a 70% increase in premium lounge space, and a 25% increase in gate capacity, including 10 new gates on the east side of the terminal. As you can see in this collage, there was many passenger-facing upgrades that included new lounges and upgraded amenities. But also, behind the scenes, the terminal underwent a comprehensive infrastructure overhaul as well. That overhaul included a state-of-the-art baggage handling system featuring 5 new baggage screening machines that significantly boosted capacity and throughput and efficiency. As part of the project, the CDA also partnered with the Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events for the city's single largest acquisition of work by local artists in 30 years. You can see that here on the image on the lower right of your screen. That $3.5 million installation is an investment in Chicago artists that provides international visitors with a dynamic and welcoming first impression of our city. And that's just one of over 15 different art installations that were installed as part of that project. The installation on the lower right is called A Memoration by local artist Gina Valentine and can be seen on concourse level near gate M27. And complementing this expansion of the Terminal 5 facility is a brand new Terminal 5 parking garage that provides much needed additional capacity and enhanced access for travelers. This recently opened, new, $191 million investment was sized to accommodate Terminal 5's increased capacity for both domestic and international traffic, providing over 1,700 spaces for both long-term and short-term parking. Travelers benefit from this modern parking assist technology, as well as access to electrical vehicle charging stations, which align with the airport's sustainability goals. In addition to the garage, the terminal now features expanded curbside drop-off capacity, including a double-lane design to improve traffic flow and streamline loading and unloading. Now to the terminal area plan. All of this work enables us to build the TAP, or the Terminal Area Plan, and it addresses 5 long-term needs at O'Hare. We want to create operational efficiency for existing and future demand. We want to increase gate flexibility. We want to reduce aircraft taxiing and time waiting for gate, and we want to integrate terminal facilities together better. We also want to improve domestic and international airline and passenger connections. Core to the TAP is the O'Hare Global Terminal, which will be the future central hub of O'Hare, which will allow for seamless domestic and international connections and include adaptive reuse of the Terminal 2 head house facility. Also in the program are 2 new satellite concourses. Satellite 1, which will feature flexible gate gates to accommodate a variety of aircraft and connect directly to United's largest operating center in Concourse C. Satellite 2, to its west, will provide capacity for future growth. These updated and new terminal facilities are needed due to the age and operational constraints of O'Hare's existing terminal facilities, and TAP is expected to provide an estimated 22% more gate capacity at O'Hare. Provide this added gate flexibility. It will also co-locate domestic and international traffic. It will enhance the existing bag systems to increase throughput and efficiency, and will increase and offer more amenity space and premium lounges for passengers. And it's estimated to contribute a projected $65 billion to the regional GDP. Now, the backbone of this TAP program is a consolidated tunnel that will connect these facilities that should provide efficient transport of passengers, baggage, and utility functions. Now, we can't do all this work without a major reconfiguration of civil projects at the airport. Underneath all of this and underpinning all of this work is a massive construction project of relocating a stormwater detention basin. So before we can construct any of these new buildings, we need to expand the south detention basin that exists today and redirect stormwater from the north of the airfield to the south basin. And then that will allow us to fill the central basin to build a taxiway and satellite concourse on top of it.
Several months, there's been a big project going on here at O'Hare, and almost nobody knows about it because it's 50 feet below ground. It's called the South Conveyance Project, and it's one of many projects that are a part of the O'Hare 21 program.
It's one of the largest investments in aviation history and will ensure that O'Hare Airport maintains its status as one of the busiest, best airports in the world.
The main purpose for our project is that we are redirecting the flows from the Central Basin that's basically in the middle of the airport, right by Terminal 1, to the South Basin here. And we're doing that so they can expand the terminals, do satellite terminals, get more space for planes, more taxiways, more capacity. And to do that, they have to backfill where the Central Basin is currently. All the flows that are going to the Central Basin have to go somewhere, so we are redirecting them here to the South Detention Basin.
The South Conveyance Project is one of many large-scale projects here at O'Hare needed in order to expand the terminal complex facility for O'Hare 21. This project spans the width of 2 different active runways. Like all major projects here at O'Hare, not only is the goal safety, but it's also to minimize impacts to the operation and the traveling public.
It's basically a full factory. It does everything. It excavates the ground, it transports it out of the ground. We're installing concrete segments in the back that build the tunnel that will convey the storm flows.
It's truly a marvel that we are able to do that while still maintaining the operational efficiencies of the airfield.
It's also intertwined with everything else that's happening at the airport because due to what we are doing, we help the airport actually expands air travel.
And we're doing all of that in the most busiest airport in the country, or one of the most busiest airports in the country. And if you've flown into O'Hare in the past year and a half, you have witnessed this construction. You've probably driven over it or driven right by it as you taxi to your gate.
And Dominic, could I just say that the tunnel was completed, or the tunnel boring machine completed its boring mission across the airfield just a couple weeks ago. We're currently pulling that machine out of the junction chamber piece by piece. So we're very excited about that completion.
It's a huge achievement for us. Now on to what this allows us to do. You can see on screen here an exterior rendering of the Satellite 1 concourse. We're weeks away from beginning construction on this exciting project. This unique design is being led by the renowned Chicago architectural team of Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, with Ross Barney Architects, Juan Gabriel Moreno Architects, and Arab Engineering Group. And it's inspired by the orchard that gave O'Hare its original name. That's why O'Hare is ORD, Orchard Field. And it does this by enabling, with a tree-like structural system inside Satellite 1 that actually eliminates almost half of the columns in a typical concourse at the gates specifically, that will help reduce congestion and enable a more efficient boarding and improved visibility for passengers. This also allows flexibility in the design of the terminal. The modern design is uniquely tuned to the climate of the Midwest, finding efficiencies that prioritize well-being while also improving environmental performance. Satellite 1 is scheduled to open in 2028, and this new concourse will offer 19 gates featuring Mars gate technology designed to accommodate different size aircraft simultaneously, which increases operational efficiency for carriers and reduces layovers. These new gates will ultimately serve both international and domestic passengers, and the facility will include high-performance systems to reduce energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. We also wanted to talk about our Terminal 3 project, the Elevate T3 project. We are currently undergoing a comprehensive terminal renovation project, upgrading customer amenities, improving security screening, and expanding accessibility for passengers with disabilities in Terminal 3. This project will reconfigure and combine 2 TSA checkpoints, expand the hallway between Concourse K and L, and revamp the baggage claim area and several restrooms. This is an over $300 million investment financed in part by $90 million in federal grants from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act Competitive Airport Terminal Program. Work began on this project in April of 2024 and is scheduled to be complete in 2027. We also have a litany of other projects to improve existing terminal facilities, to modernize aging facilities. These include a variety of completed terminal projects that we reviewed earlier, and more are listed here. As you well know, a lot of the facilities at O'Hare are over 50 years old and are in need of modernization and refurbishment. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Zach.
Chicago plays a critical role in the worldwide transportation system. Chicago is a global hub for trade and innovation in a city that fuels economic growth not just locally, but across the region and the world. At the heart of our success is our functioning transportation network, including our world-class airports. O'Hare and Midway serve as vital gateways connecting Chicago to key domestic and international markets. And whether it's moving people or goods, our airports are essential to the seamless flow of commerce and connectivity. And with the innovative infrastructure investments now underway, we're doing more than just maintaining service. We're expanding to grow into a modern, accessible, future-focused airport system. We're reinforcing Chicago's position as a leader in global aviation and ensuring our airport system continues to drive opportunity, growth, and innovation for decades to come. So thank you.
We're gonna move into a Q&A. Does anyone, coming over?
I don't think I need a microphone if that's what, can everybody hear me? So I appreciate this so much. Well done. My questions are about the noise mitigation efforts that O'Hare and Midway both implemented. As a CTA employee, we have a lot of issues with regards to noise mitigation, and I was just wondering, could you talk a little bit about what those mitigation efforts have been and what they will be in the future, and how you incorporate between Midway and O'Hare? Because I know that the dynamic between both airports is a challenge for CDA.
You want me to take that? Sure. Yeah, I think there are 2 separate programs, right? And they were essentially, the one at O'Hare I know a little bit more about, and to be honest, neither me or Zach is an expert in that, so we'll do our best to answer the question. We can always follow up as needed. But essentially, when we reconfigured the runways as part of the OMP, it impacted different communities and different housing communities. So as part of that environmental approval process, there was a noise mitigation program that was implemented through an extensive public comment period, right? And there was noise maps that were done as part of that environmental assessment, and then areas within those noise zones, as determined through that review process, were allowed or enabled or to apply to be modified through that program. And essentially, it's residential insulation and windows. So a homeowner in those areas can apply to the program to have their building or their home modified through essentially re-insulating and resealing the building, or by installing new windows to keep out the noise and mitigate those impacts, if that answers the question. And essentially, the last part of your question was, will there be ongoing mitigation? I don't believe so. I believe it was all part of the ongoing OMP program that reconfigured the runways. It is still closing out. There is still the ability for some homes to be modified, but as that completes, there will be no future mitigations as part of the work we're doing in the terminal area plan, because it doesn't present any new noise impact to the local surrounding communities.
Hi, so I've been through Terminal 5 a few times recently, and it's a very long walk from the entrance out to the new gates on the far side of that terminal. What are, in the future, plans for Terminal 5? Is there an intent to add additional entrances to the concourse area, or to reduce the amount of time it takes from going through security all the way to the furthest gate at that terminal?
Yeah, we don't currently have any future plans to make improvements to the passenger journey from check-in to the furthest gate at Terminal 5. We do appreciate that it can be a long walk, but the nature of that terminal design and the geographic constraints of that site only really allow for a single loaded concourse. And so to get the capacity that we needed to build and expand the core terminals, that was really the best solution that we could come up with. And there are no future plans to provide additional access to Terminal 5 other than what is there today, if that answers the question.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the footprint of Terminal 5 is constrained on one side by the airfield and on the other side by the people mover, the ATS out there. So there's really like a very limited amount of space that you could bump out the terminal without impacting our ATS train, which is would be an incredibly expensive proposition to try to move those tracks.
I will say we do hear the feedback, and as part of the future expansion that we're doing in the core terminals, as part of the TAP, that consolidated tunnel that I talked about has, it will not on day one have an automated people mover, but we are building the tunnel with enough room to add an automated people mover at a later date when you complete Satellite 2 and potentially expand even further to the west with additional facilities. And that automated people mover will help address some of those issues with regards to long walk distances in the core terminal facilities.
The other thing I'd say is that we constantly look for opportunities to improve the passenger experience that don't necessarily require large infrastructure projects or large capital investment. So we're in conversation with our carriers about what they're seeing at other airports to efficiently move passengers. I think Atlanta just recently introduced some autonomous carts. I'm not sure what to call them, but they essentially fit like 4 passengers at a time. They're using them right now to shuttle people from the airport to the convention center. But opportunities like that reduce the amount of time it takes for a passenger to get to the gate. That's something that we're always interested in exploring.
Thank you. Hi, I've got 2 questions, a fun one and maybe a more future-focused one. The fun one is I remember going on a OMP tour years ago where they said they were going to use goats to mow the yard. Is that a thing? Is that still a thing?
Yes. Yes. Do you want to?
Yeah, there's parts of the airfield that we do have a current contract where goats and sheep come out and they do mow the lawn by eating it. So yes, that's still an ongoing program that we have.
And believe believe it or not, that's a cost savings for the airport. That is less expensive than having someone go out and like mow with an actual mower.
I love it. Thank you. And my more future-focused question is about, you're continuing to expand the role of O'Hare kind of in the world, and that makes sense economically. It makes sense for travel. When we think about like United Sustainable Aviation Fuel Program or the measures that we can take to think about the greenhouse gas emissions profile of the airport overall, do you all have, could you just talk a little bit about your thinking, understanding that O'Hare will be O'Hare and you'll expand and this is your role, but like how do those kind of ideas come together for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think sustainability is we always try to keep that front and center in everything we do. I mean, I think by modernizing our facilities, they will be more efficient. They will use less energy than facilities that were built in the 1950s and 60s. So there's certainly that. I think also one of the key cornerstones of the TAP program is this co-location of international and domestic flights. About half of the passengers that fly through O'Hare are transfer passengers, and if there's a transfer passenger from the Midwest coming to O'Hare to grab an international flight today, the majority of those passengers have to actually transfer between the core terminals and Terminal 5, either through a bus on the airfield or through the airport transit system. This really causes a delay in the time that the airplanes can switch over and are sitting on the tarmac, which creates greenhouse gas emissions. So by co-locating all of the alliance partners, once we complete the TAP program, and by making the taxi times more efficient, right, you will save a tremendous amount of greenhouse gas emissions. So just by doing that, by making operations more efficient, you are making the airport more sustainable. So even though we're increasing movements and increasing capacity, we're not necessarily increasing our greenhouse footprint at the same rate because of that efficiency. The ultimate goal will be to have Delta and its alliance partners all at Terminal 5, and then to have United and its Star Alliance partners all in Terminal 1, and then the TAP, and then have all of American and their alliance partners, the One World Alliance, in Terminal 3 and the TAP program. So that alone should create tremendous amounts of greenhouse gas emissions efficiency.
I had one question, but now I have two. Do the goats and sheep have hearing protection? And then second, just kind of more based on my experience with the aesthetics, but are there any plans for Terminal 2 renovations?
Yes, I would say. So for the goats and sheeps, no, I don't think that they have any hearing protection, but I will say that they're not, for obvious safety reasons, not near active runways or taxiways. They handle areas that are more remote within the airfield. For Terminal 2, the plan is to tear it down. The global terminal is going on the site of the current existing Terminal 2. So we are completely, we're retaining the head house for partially environmental reasons. It's more sustainable to renovate the head house than tear it down. But the rest of the terminal facilities, we are demolishing and building the new global terminal on that footprint.
Yeah, we did investigate, adaptive reuse of E and F concourses as well, but it just doesn't work, right? If you actually go back and look at previous aerials of those terminals were designed for aircraft to parallel park against them, and so they've been modified multiple times over the years for the perpendicular parking, and they just don't fit the modern aircraft sizes that are required.
Yeah, I mean, for context, Terminal 2, the ribbon cutting happened when JFK was president. So that terminal is in need of a serious,
I'll try to be loud. The demise of Terminal 2 saddens me just a little bit. Going forward, as the industry is slowly moving away from mega jumbos back to a 777, A350 kind of world, is that going into the factor? I heard the gate flexibility type argument there. Is that going to be factored in? And will there still be A380 and 744 gate or 748 gates out there?
Yes, to both to both questions. One of the key initiatives of TAP, the Terminal Area Program, is to convert our gates to these MARS gates, which stands for Multiple Aircraft Ramp System, which allows for different gauge of aircraft to use that gates because we, just in the past 5 or 6 years alone, we've seen our carriers fluctuate on what their fleet mix looks like, and some of that's driven by aircraft delivery delays. Some of that's a lot of it's strategic decisions, and our hub carriers are making different strategic decisions about where they fly to and what aircraft they fly to, and we want each of our gates at O'Hare to be able to accommodate any carrier at any time. So these Mars gates do allow for any type of aircraft, specifically for
Wide body and narrow body.
wide body and narrow body flexibility for a single gate, which we don't currently have at most of our gates.
And just to add to that, there will still be the capability for an A380 at O'Hare, and we're actually expanding that capacity just to build upon what Zach was saying. It changes year over year, month over month, with what the airlines are doing and how they're scheduling their schedules. And so Terminal 5 will continue to have one A380 gate capable, and then each of the TAP facilities that I talked about, OGT and Satellite 1, will each have one A380 capable gate just so we have that future flexibility.
Wasn't quite a follow-up, it was a second question. Which department, group, or whoever leads the push on attracting international carriers, aside from United American doing what they want to do, is there a group that actually goes out trying to recruit the international carriers who may want to serve into here?
Yes, we have a division within the department that's the Air Service Division, and part of their charge is specifically marketing the airport to carriers to try to attract additional service to the airport. So I think it's maybe next week is the slot conference. There's actually like an international conference where carriers will sit down and we have a pitch, why O'Hare, why Midway, because, and we'll sit down and meet with, various carriers and try to attract that service to Chicago.
And quite frankly, we can't meet the demand, right? We have to say no to many airlines because we don't have the gate capacity and the facilities to serve them. So hence the expansion that we're undergoing.
Yeah, my question was very similar, so you kind of answered it, but I just go just to kind of a little get more information. You mentioned you had to say no to some carriers. Are you able to kind of give insights on what potential new markets could come to O'Hare with expansion once it's well underway or done?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's dependent on the business decisions of our carriers. Just off the top of my head, I know that American this summer, just a few weeks ago, had a ribbon cutting for its first flights direct to Naples, Italy, and I booked a ticket for that in August. So there's one new service at least that exists now.
Okay, all right. One statement or comment, and two questions, and maybe a half question. One, I have a picture of the goat eating some grass, so if you really want to see what I have one for you. My first question is this, I'm going to really pivot away from the presentation because we never ever seem to have a plan for access to and from the airport. I'm not including I-190, and I'm not including the Blue Line as a separate issue, maybe another session for another time. But how are you addressing the congestion issues getting to and from the airport as it relates to next to the terminals, respective to 1, 2, and 3, and 5? And if you've been there recently, you know it can be a bad house during the peak period.
Yeah. You want me to take that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think the Terminal 5 project actually addressed a lot of the congestion that was going on in the core facilities, and it actually reduced that congestion, right? If you look at the way that international and domestic flights peak, they have different peaks throughout the day, and Terminal 5 previously was only an international facility, so it got super congested during certain parts of the day, and it basically was empty when there was not a peak. And so by moving Delta over there, and Frontier as well, and having domestic airlines co-locate with international international airlines, we're able to more efficiently use that terminal. So but we don't even really need to expand access to increase capacity for our landside functions. In addition to that, the Terminal 5 parking garage is actually improving access to Terminal 5 as well by adding additional drop-off lanes. And then I will say also in the core terminals today, Terminal 2 is rather underutilized with regards to pickup and drop-offs just by the nature of what airlines are serving out of it today, right? So by renovating and expanding Terminal 2 and actually having more gates depart out of that facility through the consolidated tunnel, we'll be able to better utilize that curb and access point. So the current modeling that we've done with regards to access and landside functionality the current facilities and infrastructures after we complete the T5 campus can address and accommodate the growth that will be required for the facilities you saw in the presentation.
And I would add just a couple of other notes on that. The first is that we have a fairly small, but we do have a congressional earmarked amount to improve like the Metra area that currently arrives at the multimodal facility at the airport. So we're in the planning stages, soon to be in the design stages of what that improved Metra area will look like. We would, as an airport, we would love to see more Metra traffic coming to O'Hare. We'd love to see expanded service there, and we're safeguarding for future expansion of that area. And additionally, one of the elements of TAP, the Terminal Area Program, is a Western employee parking and screening facility. So currently, the airline employees are using the same roads as passengers to access the airport, and there's dedicated parking lots right near the terminal facilities where the airline employees park and are bused to the respective terminals. If we can move that traffic to the western side of the airfield, we're reducing somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 cars coming into the terminal core on a daily basis. So part of that congestion, that is one way that we're reducing congestion in the terminal core through the Terminal Area Program.
And just to add to that as well, there's a lot of operational things we can do, right? We built the multimodal facility, the consolidated rental car facility. That allowed us to take all of the rental car shuttle buses out of the core terminal so that you then take the airport transit to get to your rental car. So that freed up capacity as well. There's even more additional things we can do by relocating hotel shuttles, relocating TNP, which is Uber and Lyft pickup and drop off, to better utilize the existing curb fronts that we have.
But I want to acknowledge that congestion is an issue. It's a good problem for us to have. We have 82 million passengers coming through O'Hare, in 2024. We're working to try to solve some of these issues. I don't want to pretend like we think it's perfect.
Okay, I'm going to transition to my second question. Now, all right, we're into somehow 2030, 32, whenever TAP is done. Everything looks great. Given the increase in traffic volume, both from a takeoff and landing perspective and also passenger improvements or increase, should we expect that we're going to be at the same issue or problems in 20 or 30 years from now, or do we have enough capacity to get us well into 2050? And the other lingering issue, and maybe the elephant in the room, is the Western Terminal that was discussed about 2 decades ago that, I don't know, was put on ice because the major airlines didn't want to do it in the first place. Is there conversation to maybe reevaluate that issue or concerns that was addressed when it was first conceived 20 years ago?
We will not have an airfield capacity problem in 2030 when these projects are complete, right? We are safeguarding for future expansion for additional Satellite 3, Satellite 4, and that Western Access Terminal facility as well. So our airfield, I think right now we're the only airport in the world with 6 parallel runways. There might be one other airport in the Middle East that's building that capacity. We're unmatched in that ability. So it should not be a problem going forward.
Thank you.
Hi. So what I've noticed about currently how O'Hare is configured is that One World and Star Alliance are physically separate future gates from that global gateway would be potentially shared between those two alliances, and that it's possible to have to pass by another alliance of gates in order to get to an American gate, for instance.
Yes, I think that potentially in the future, our current hub carriers who have kind of a DMZ between them will end up being operating closer to each other. Yeah, they won't be necessarily shared gates because of the nature of our lease with the carriers, that they'll have a preferential use ability on certain gates, but I do expect that both of our hub carriers will have preferential use gates within the global terminal near each other.
Yeah, and we're designing those facilities for that flexibility so that they can have different alliance partners co-located in one facility.
And I should note that's, what we plan today, but it is subject to change.
Hi, thank you. Fascinating presentation. I think a lot of us in the room are surface transportation planners and are faced every day with trying to do the best job with stakeholder engagement. And I'm thinking just even that story about what your stakeholders look like, the airlines, the vendors who have services in the airport, the residents who live around in the surrounding area. They're very different types of stakeholders than we have. Can you talk a little bit about how stakeholder engagement happens on a project this scale, the timeline, the frequency, or anything? It just sounds like something that is new and different for a lot of us in the room.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stakeholder engagement. You left out federal agencies as well, right? We have to engage with the TSA and the Department of Homeland Security for the CBP as well. So, I mean, it's constantly ongoing. We're constantly engaging with stakeholders on a weekly, monthly basis. Airline partners as well. I think the one thing I will say, though, that I think everybody wants O'Hare to be great and to be successful. So I think just having that as sort of a guiding principle for everybody that we engage with is tremendously helpful in a lot of the stakeholder engagement meetings that we do have. They all come to the table with different interests, obviously, but they're all aligned on making O'Hare better.
And in terms of timeline, I think from the very beginning, from the planning stages, we want to bring our stakeholders in because it's just, from a cost perspective, it is better to be able to address their specific needs or challenges when we're at the 10% design stage than if they're coming in at the 90% design stage and telling us something doesn't work for their operations. So, we are trying to walk hand in hand with our stakeholders through the design of these new buildings.
Hi. During the presentation, one of you said or discussed how the renovations included a large increase in premium lounge space, and so I'm curious what that process looked like and how involved the airlines were in determining, how much of that real estate they were able to have control of.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes from the governing document between the airlines and the city, the airline use and lease agreement, and there was a lot of planning work that was done before I came to the CDA to kind of set the framework and the groundwork. And in that document, there was a planning work in which the airlines basically forecasted and told the city what they would be willing to lease if we were to build these programs. So a lot of it is governed by that. And then I would just add to what Zach was saying, that ongoing stakeholder engagement, right? We're constantly going to those airline partners and confirming what they want and what they are willing to lease and what they need, so that we are right-sizing those facilities for what they want. I hope that addressed and answered the question.
Hi, I have two workforce-related questions. One would be about, given the huge number of employees at the airport and possible plan to relocate employees parking on the west side, have you done any studies and looked at the data from where those people are actually commuting, and if that, how will that change the patterns and their commuting time every day? That's one question. And the other, I'm wondering, with all those ambitious projects and operations and all that, I'm curious, if local universities and if you have any troubles with recruiting subject matter experts or recent graduates, how that landscape looks like for your needs.
Sure. Yeah, with regards to the western access and employing parking, there has been extensive planning work to kind of understand where employees are coming from to make it more efficient, right? I think it's a pretty inefficient operation for a lot of employees because they park on the airfield today, so they have to drive quite a ways. O'Hare is a huge campus, right? If you look at it compared to even the city of Chicago, and so just by providing western access directly from the tollway, it should improve most people's commute times. But that has been part of the planning work. And then with regards to the second question, with regards to recruiting, I'm not aware of any difficulties that we or our vendors have had in bringing talent to get these projects done. And we do a lot of, and Zach can probably speak to this better than I can, we do as a department do a lot of outreach job fairs at various universities and other venues throughout the city constantly to try to recruit employees for airlines, for concessionaires, for construction contractors as well, so that we are constantly trying to open the doors for employment at O'Hare.
And I would just add on the commute time for the employees question. That work is being done in connection with the Illinois Tollway's improvement of access to the western side of the airfield. So there's just generally better traffic flow on the western side of the airfield than historically existed, even 5 or 6 years ago. And another project that we have ongoing at the airport is the construction of a number of grade-separated roadways that would transport non-aircraft vehicles under taxiways across the airfield. So currently, when an American Airlines employee boards a bus or is in the airfield and needs to commute to the actual terminal core, they are often delayed by having to wait for taxiing aircraft. With the construction of these grade-separated roadways, we're ensuring a shorter and more consistent commute time for, both tugs carrying bags, buses carrying employees, any kind of non-aircraft vehicle that's moving around the airfield.
All right, I think that's the end of our session. If we could give one more round of applause.